I think Daniel Farke's done an incredible job at Leeds. I think Kieran McKenna's done an even better job at Ipswich. And I think Cifuentes has done an even better job at QPR than both of those. Price
Whoa,
at
whoa, whoa,
Cifuentes.
whoa.
No. Yep, absolutely. Firstly, Cifuentes doesn't have the resources that McKenna's got at Ipswich. and in addition...
Hello and welcome to the Second Tier Preview Show brought to you by SBK. I'm Ryan Dilks and I'm joined by the Simeon Jackson to my Grant Holt. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Good day to you, Justin Peach. I had my mum the other day asking about this podcast. It's been going for 5 years now, and she only decided now was an appropriate time to ask some pretty standard questions, which I thought she would have known, but apparently didn't. She asked things like, how often do you do episodes? When do you do them? Is it just you and Justin? As I say, things that I thought she would have known, really, after 5 years of doing this, but apparently she didn't.
Oh, fair play, Ryan's mum. I'm not gonna name drop her, but
I was a bit worried you were about to just then.
Don't you worry. I respect Ryan's mum a hell of a lot. But I think it's just a very mum thing to do. I don't think I could explain to my mum what it is exactly. This is. She just knows that I do things, and she describes me as an entrepreneur. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She goes that far, does she?
She describes me as an entrepreneur, despite me not making millions off of this podcast just yet.
An entrepreneur. I like that. I might put that as my job title on LinkedIn from now on, even though it's not really true. I think entrepreneur's like a very kind way of saying he sits in his bedroom and sits in front of a computer talking about football all day.
Yeah, it's a very base way of saying it, and again, just describing it to other people. Like someone else said, "Do you just move faders up and down?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right, yeah."
And you said, "What's a fader?"
Yeah, what's a fader? Exactly.
Yeah, it's a new way of looking at it, I suppose. And I appreciate your mum for going that far to describe us as entrepreneurs. That's a nice way of putting
she described me as an entrepreneur. She said nothing about you.
What'd she say about me?
I don't want to say.
Do you want to know what my mum said about you?
She loves me.
No, she said, when are you getting rid of that guy who's hanging onto your coattails this whole time?
The guy who's carrying the podcast. That's what she said.
Oh, dearie me. Welcome to the number one championship podcast, the Second Tier. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. Yes, this is indeed a preview show, and we're fully into the business end of the season now, ladies and gentlemen, and we have got some tasty fixtures coming up this weekend, so we'll get into that very shortly, including our game of the week, which I don't think needs too much guessing what our game of the weekend is going to be. But we'll also be doing our banker predictions, our outsider predictions, as well as talking about some of the news from the past few days as well. And of course, finishing off with Scott High or Ryan Lowe right at the end of the show. So our game of the weekend is, of course, the East Anglian derby at Saturday lunchtime between Norwich City and Ipswich Town. Norwich are 17-10 with SBK for this one. Ipswich are the favourites at 7-5. The draw is 11-4. And yes, it is the East Anglian derby, or as it's otherwise known, the Old Farm derby. Although people in East Anglia don't really like that name for it, Justin. So watch your mouth.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything derogatory just yet. I do refer to it quite often.
What do you mean just yet? Saving it for later.
Saving it for after the show. No, yeah, 4 minutes into the podcast and I'm already pissing people off. I do refer to it as the Old Farm Derby quite often as well, don't I?
You did at the weekend, and I was
yeah.
like, not the weekend, Tuesday show. I'm still so confused about what day it is now. And I was like, oh, it did rub me up the wrong way, Justin, because it's not I don't think it's a name that is meant in with good care.
No, I understand that, and maybe it is derogatory, isn't it? Because there's not just farms in Anglia, or East Anglia. Is it East Anglia and West? No,
Jesus Christ, there we go. It's East Anglia.
It's just all East Anglia.
There is a lot of farmland in Norfolk and Suffolk. I did live there for a brief period, and outside of Norwich and Ipswich, there is 90%, 95% farmland. So I could see why it's called the Old Farm Derby, but still, we shouldn't linger on that too much. Anyway, Justin, I mean, that's one of the reasons why people take the piss out of this derby. And another reason why is because Norwich and Ipswich are quite far away from each other. When that doesn't really give the derby its due credit, does it? But because if you go to Norfolk and Suffolk and ask people that whether this is a big derby or not, they will tell you this is a massive, massive derby. The passion and intensity is right up there, isn't it? And it doesn't fail to deliver very often, if at all, really, does it? Every time we've seen it, we've had some cracking moments over the years, haven't we?
No, absolutely, absolutely. There are a few that spring to mind. The one that hits the hardest is the Mick McCarthy reaction to when Ipswich scored. Was it an equaliser, wasn't it, a few years ago when he told the Ipswich...
I think
did
it was
they go
when
ahead?
They went ahead, I think, yeah.
But he turned around to the away end and told them to fuck off.
Yep.
The Ipswich fans. He told the Ipswich fans, as Ipswich Town manager, to fuck off. I think that is just incredible balls on the man.
It's just great stuff, isn't it?
It's just great stuff. And obviously they did concede an equaliser quite late on in the game, didn't they, if I remember rightly? But
yeah, Tim Closer. I was
at
that game, actually.
It's just incredible. It's just incredible to be able to do that. To I wouldn't say pull it off, because I think anyone can tell anybody to get the F off. But
what you're saying is you want it to happen more often, Justin.
I think it should. I want managers like David Wagner could have done it several times to the Norwich fans this season, which is kind of ironic with this game. But he didn't, because he's mild mannered and he comes across as a very nice fella. But just sometimes, you just want to see it, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah, I'm glad we did as well. And if it does happen more often, then I will only welcome it. I mean, other moments that I can think of is, Paul Lambert scrapping on the touchline a few years ago when he was Ipswich manager. That was good stuff. James Maddison tearing Ipswich apart at Portman Road a few years ago as well. But undeniably, Justin, Norwich City have owned this fixture in recent years, haven't they? It's been 15 years since Ipswich last beat Norwich. And it's not like they've not been playing each other in that time. They've played each other on 13 occasions over the last 15 years. I mean, 15 years is such a long time to not beat your big rivals, isn't it? But look, these are all the ingredients which make this possibly the biggest East Anglian derby ever, isn't it? Because when you consider the fact that it's been 15 years since Ipswich last won, but also the added factors of Ipswich's promotion, Norwich's playoff hopes, as well as the local pride element too, of course, there is so much at stake here, isn't there?
Yeah, and I the belief, I imagine, to get the 3 points will be bigger than ever for both sides, because none of them are in sort of mid-table mediocrity. You've got Norwich going for the playoffs, as you mentioned, and Ipswich going for the title or the automatics. Your Premier League beckons for both of these sides, and I think a win for either will really, really push them towards those aspirations. And I think that what makes it even more palpable and even better and even more poised is the fact that both sides are bloody good at attacking. They're very good at attacking. And scoring goals, and they're also coming into the game in pretty decent form. I know Norwich lost to Leicester on Monday, but they have been in good form, and they're very good at home as well. And it just adds to that element that it's just so difficult to decipher, and it probably is one of those games where it's impossible to call. I would maybe argue that the playoffs in 2015 were probably perhaps a little bit bigger, but actually, now I'm thinking about it, I'm convincing myself that this one is even more significant, because Ipswich, for the first time since, I don't know, this is as close as they've been to the Premier League since 2001. I know they got to the playoffs on a few occasions, but this feels like the closest they've been since 2001. And obviously Norwich wanting to put an end to that, they want to stop that, but also get to the Premier League themselves. I think it's quite significant.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be the biggest East Anglian derby. Certainly in a long time, perhaps even ever as well, because, as I say, there is so much at stake, and Ipswich fans will be so desperate to win this one, to not only end the hoodoo that Norwich have had over them, but perhaps, even more importantly, keep their noses in front in the title race. This has got to be their toughest remaining game. They've still got some toughies coming up on the horizon, don't get me wrong, but if they win here, it would be very hard to deny promotions on the cards for Ipswich. And then, on the other hand, a loss is a massive blow, because it gives their rivals chance to overtake them, Leeds and Leicester this weekend, and of course keeps the hoodoo going, Justin.
Keeps the hoodoo going. I know. I think the psychology of winning a game of this magnitude and what it can do for a season, it is literally season defining. I remember being a Derby fan, 2014-15, Derby lost to Forest in January. And Forest I think they hadn't won for 20 odd games, and Derby were top of the championship at this point. Lost that, and then they went on this barren spell, and obviously they dropped out of the playoffs. It's one of the biggest bottle jobs in the history of the championship, and it just goes
until this season with Leicester.
Until this season with Leicester, absolutely, if they don't go up, obviously. But it just goes to show like the psychology of losing to a fierce rival, what that can do for a team. It can derail their season. And I think actually if let's say Ipswich or Norwich lose this game and they bounce back in the following game, you've got to give credit to the manager who does that, because to pick up off the back of that sort of defeat would be massive. But yeah, a huge game for both sides, and I genuinely cannot wait for this one. I know we say it quite a lot with derbies, but this one, like I said, both teams love to attack. They both score goals. They both create a hell of a lot of drama. They've both got so much quality, and they're both gunning for respective promotions. It is an incredible tee up in the old Championship.
Yeah, we're guaranteed goals in this one, aren't we? And that's before you even get onto the, everything that's at stake and the amount of passion and the atmosphere here. It's just going to be so juicy. And as you mentioned, Justin, potentially the second of 4 East Anglian derbies this season if Norwich do snatch 6th place and Ipswich drop out of the top 2. That's the ideal scenario for Norwich fans at this stage, isn't it? But we'll have to wait and see whether that happens. Justin, it's now time for us to make our second tier bet builder with SBK. And with SBK, you can curate your own bet builder from a range of markets for any Championship game. Look, it's easy, fast and secure on the SBK mobile app, and you'll find substantially better odds there than at any other bookmaker. So every Friday we're making our own bet builder with 4 selections all relating to our game of the week. So that's 2 for Justin and 2 for me. Justin, what is your first selection?
I've gone with both teams to score. I think this is more unique than some derbies, because with this derby there always seems to be goals. There hasn't been a 0-0 in this fixture since 1999. I was 5 years old in 1999, Ryan. It's not been a 0-0 since then. And of the last 15 games, there's only been a clean sheet on 5 occasions. And you mix that with the attacking quality of these sides, we could be in for a treat. So I'm going with both teams to score here. I'm quite confident with this one.
Yeah, at one point Norwich were in absolute shambles at the back, but they have tightened up quite a bit in recent months. Having said that, Ipswich are just so potent going forwards, aren't they, that it'd be a massive surprise if they didn't score. And then Ipswich, as you've mentioned on quite a few occasions this season, Justin, are a bit leaky at the back themselves. So you'd have thought both teams to score is an absolute banker for this weekend. My first selection, Justin, is over 4.5 cards. Now, I feel like it's an easy mistake to expect cards in a derby like this, because more often than people think, a referee will go into a derby and be keen to keep his cards in his pocket so it doesn't boil over and become a huge mess. However, considering how much is at stake here, as we were just alluding to, I think this should be one of those derbies where there are a lot of challenges flying about, and it may get a bit hot-tempered at times, but also because the referee for this is Matt Donoghue, who can be a bit card-happy. He's handed out the second most yellow cards per game out of every referee who's managed more than 20 games in the Championship this season. So I think over 4.5 cards is a good pick, Justin. Would you agree?
I do agree, but I think you're missing the bigger point of the fact that Sam Morsey is in the Ipswich team, the master of the professional foul. Massimo Luongo's got 9 yellow cards this season. I imagine he's pretty nifty with the old professional foul as well. And then Shane Duffy.
You've got Boya Sainz as well. He's a bit of a hothead, isn't he?
Exactly. And then Shane Duffy, I can't remember who he exactly tackled against Leicester, but I think he was only on the pitch for a few minutes on Monday, but he went straight through someone and got booked for it. This is teams full of the professional foul artists. I imagine if either side goes 1-0 up, there'll be a lot of disruption. I think as well as that, there's a couple of academy graduates in both sides. You've got Harry Clark at Ipswich, Sam McCallum at Norwich. They like to do well for their hometown teams, so there might be some tasty big challenges coming in to get their relative fans on board. So yeah, I'd back this one. There you
go. We've named over 5 players there, so just get on them to be booked, everyone. Justin, what's your next selection?
I've gone with Ipswich high scoring half to be the second half. Now, this comes down to Ipswich's ability just to keep going relentlessly in games. That is the big pull for me here. The Tractor Boys have scored 30% of their goals in the final 15 minutes of games. That's their highest proportion when compared to other periods within a game. It is ludicrous, and we only have to talk about the amount of times they score after 90 minutes. They keep going, they keep attacking. And I think that will even be more the case. Let's say Norwich are 2-1 up. Ipswich will keep going to get that equaliser at some point. And if that's in the second half, it's more likely to be the case. They score a hell of a lot of goals in the second half of games. And as I say, that is a big pull.
Yeah, that's their business hours, isn't it? The second half, that's when Ipswich really get to work, as we've seen in plenty of occasions in recent weeks. And my final selection for the bet builder is Ipswich to win. It's a big call, but it's starting to feel like promotion is written in the stars for Ipswich. A lot of things have been going their way, and I think that trend will continue this weekend. Norwich have been in fine form this calendar year. They were easily the second best in the end to Leicester on Easter Monday, though. So, with that being said, I think Ipswich will finally exercise those demons and end 15 years of hurt on Saturday by getting the win against their big rivals. Justin, are you giving me a thumbs up with that?
I'll give you a thumbs up. I'm a bit tentative with derbies to go with the side, but I think given the destiny blurb you gave us in Monday's episode, it's hard to disagree with you at this point. Now, I'm not going to say Ipswich have been lucky, but when balls land at your feet the way you did it at Sarmiento's against Southampton on Monday, it's hard to disagree that maybe the universe is telling us something.
The universe wants Ipswich to win the East Anglian derby on Saturday. And a £10 bet with SBK on that bet builder returns £130 and 4 pence. And with SBK, you can claim a 25% winnings boost on bet builders for Norwich v Ipswich, bringing us up to £162 and 55 pence. Max stake of £10 over 18s only, and T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. That bet builder again. Both teams to score over 4.5 cards. Ipswich's high scoring half to be the second half, and Ipswich to win. A £10 bet with SBK on that returns £162.55. Right, let's have a look ahead to the weekend then. And in each preview episode of the second tier, Justin and I will each pick a banker, a team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider. So someone we think is going to win, but is bigger odds with our friends at SBK than their opponent. We're tracking how we do as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do a bloody forfeit, which will be a CrossFit workout for myself, while Justin has to do a horrible coach trip from Sunderland to Plymouth and back. And boy, oh boy, it's not looking good for him, because the current scores are 40-31 to myself. Justin and I both got our bankers correct in the preview show, looking at the Good Friday games. But Justin, after this episode, you've got 4 preview shows left. So that means there's still 15 points up for grabs when you include this weekend still. But it's nearly mathematically impossible for you to win. The door is closing on you, dear boy.
I don't get the pressure you're trying to generate for me. I'm as cool as they come. I'm quite confident.
It's because you've accepted your fate for quite a while now.
Yeah, I've already booked my trip. I've already booked 2 weeks off work to go to this go on this coach trip. No. I'm quite confident that maybe just maybe I can sneak back into this, and I've got to create the drama to keep the neutrals interested. I'm in this. I'm fighting for this. I'll love it when I beat you, Ryan. Okay,
well, you can put your money where your mouth is, son. What is your banker for the weekend?
I've gone with QPR to beat Sheffield Wednesday. I've got to be honest, there weren't too many bankers that stood out for me this weekend, but looking into this game a little bit more detail, QPR were the big standouts for me. And I think the transformation of QPR have gone through since Marty Cifuentes' arrival has been remarkable, and that's the big thing. Style of play change, individuals performing better, defensively they've been incredible as well. We're seeing better form out of Elias Cherry and Chris Willock compared to that of Gareth Ainsworth. Compared to that under Gareth Ainsworth to now, it is chalk and cheese, and they're rising comfortably away from the bottom 3, and maybe, dare we say it, into lower mid-table, which will be some achievement.
It would. It absolutely would. From a Sheffield Wednesday perspective, Justin, I mean, it's getting towards do or die territory for them, isn't it? They've got winnable games remaining, but considering it's 1 point from 4 games for them, of course, going to QPR and getting something is going to be tough, because they have been in great form in 2024, haven't they? But Sheffield Wednesday need some momentum at this stage, don't they? They just need any form of momentum that they can possibly get the bloody hands on.
They do, and I think the only thing that could maybe point towards a Wednesday win is maybe QPR complacency, that ability. I mean, how often can centre-halves score wieldy volleys for QPR from set pieces? Obviously, Steve Cook did it on Monday. There's like Jimmy Dunn goal on Good Friday as well. How often can that happen? I mean,
may I suggest that they just stick one of them up front, because they probably offer a lot more than Michael Freya's in recent games.
I'm not going to disagree with that at all. That might be the better case here. I mean, Steve Cook almost scored that overhead kick a few weeks back, didn't he? If we remember rightly. So there's you potentially got something in there, but you're absolutely right. And I think the transformation that Marty Cifuentes has got QPR under, I think, is the big swing for me. And Danny Rule maybe not quite getting the same tune out of this Sheffield Wednesday team after such a monumental push to get them out of the bottom 3. and I've said it time and time again. It's the same wording I'm going to use. They've maybe run out of gas. And they're travelling away. They've got the second worst away record in the division, which doesn't fill me with any confidence.
Yeah, it does feel like they're running out of steam a bit, doesn't it? Sheffield Wednesday, unfortunately. Still very much in it. I mean, a win could see them get out of the bottom three, which I don't think has happened all season, has it? Apart from maybe the first handful of games, but you see my point. So it's still very much possible. It's still could be on the cards for Wednesday, but they need to find some momentum from somewhere, and at the moment it just doesn't seem to be there. Well, of course, this game is a meeting between two managers who have done sublime jobs since getting appointed at their respective clubs, as you mentioned there, Marty Cifuentes and Danny Rule, Justin. But they were both overlooked for the EFL Awards Manager of the Season this week. The shortlist includes Ipswich's Kieran McKenna, Leeds' Daniel Farker, and Hull's Liam Rosenior. Now, I must point out these awards are Mickey Mouse awards compared to the second tier awards, which are, considered to be the real deal by everyone. Not long until we do them now and reveal who the actual contenders are. But what did you make of this, Justin? It's Liam Rosenior's inclusion which has raised a few eyebrows, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we look at the points, QPR are only 12 points off of Hull, and I'm not going to foresee a 4-game stretch where Hull lose 4 games and QPR win 4 games on the bounce, but you could see QPR be on the same level of points in 4 games' time as Hull. I just think it's a bit of a strange one. I'm not going to discredit the job that Rossini's done up on Humberside this season, because it has been good, but it hasn't been incredible. I think Daniel Farker's done an incredible job at Leeds. I think Kieran McKenna's done an even better job at Ipswich. And I think Cifuentes has done an even better job at QPR than both of those managers. So I am surprised that Cifuentes... No. Yep, absolutely. Firstly, Cifuentes doesn't have the resources that McKenna's got at Ipswich. and in addition... Where is this come from? Listen here, cherub. Cifuentes has had to correct momentum, whereas McKenna's been riding it for 2 years. So I think the job that Cifuentes...
What are you talking about?
So I think the work that Cifuentes has done, for me, stands a lot higher than the one that McKenna's done at Ipswich.
Are you being deadly serious right
100%. I think Cifuentes deserves that accolade this season. For a man to take over Gareth Ainsworth, he took over a goth with a guitar, for fuck's sake. And he's delivered he's potentially going to deliver a lower mid-table finish this season. I think he, absolutely deserves, the shout of EFL Manager of the Year, Championship Manager of the Year. Justin,
you're completely entitled to your opinion, but you're talking out your arse here. That is better than Kieran McKenna.
Listen,
he's taken a team who have been promoted from League One and may have them winning the league. And I don't know where this budget thing has come about, because they've barely spent any money at all this season. He's competing against 3 teams who have the biggest budgets ever at Championship level. I can't believe this is even a real thing that you're saying. It's not even up for debate.
Okay. So you've backed Ipswich to get promoted yourself, so that's actually delivering on your expectations. We backed QPR to get relegated, and then hang on.
No. I was the only person, as far as I'm aware, who backed Ipswich to get into the top 2.
But McKenna's delivering exactly.
Just because I said it at the start of the season doesn't mean I expect them to be there.
Okay, interesting.
It's a prediction.
Anyway, McKenna is delivering exactly what you predicted he would deliver. QPR are out of the relegation. So
I'm just one of several Championship experts, quote unquote. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're expected to finish in the top 2. I think a lot of people had them to finish in the top 6, but if you go back to us predicting Ipswich to finish in the top 2 at the start of the season, look at some of the responses to that, and you'll see that no one particularly fancied Ipswich to finish in the top 2. But even then, whether you predicted them to do it or not, the job that Kieran McKenna has done this season is, for me, probably the best job we've ever seen from any manager at Championship level ever. So the fact that you're even saying that he doesn't deserve to win Manager of the Season is just ridiculous, Justin. And I fully accept Marty Cifuentes has done an unbelievable job this season. He really, really has. And I have been critical of QPR on many occasions. But that's just a balmy thing to say. Yes, he's kept them up, but come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got skin in the game with your McKenna obsession, and that's absolutely fine, right? We're all entitled to things that we love. But for me, as I say, I think Cifuentes turning that QPR team around is something that, for me, is astonishing. The style of play change. Yeah,
That-
and it's an incredible job. Incredible job.
He's done a really, really good job. I'm not denying that at all, but we see that happen every season. How often do you see a manager getting a team from League One to potentially the Premier League in the same season?
I mean, we've seen it on occasion. Paul Lambert's done it.
We're talking several years ago, and you even said at the start of the season that we're going around in circles here. I can't believe you've even suggested this. But we'll move on anyway and get back to the actual thing we were talking about initially, which was, of course, the EFL Awards Manager of the Year, wasn't it? And that's you've really knocked me off track here now, Justin. You've completely thrown me back by this outrageous shout from you. But yeah, I'm the same as you, Justin. I think Liam Mazzini's done a really, really good job at Hull. Because, look, he's taken them from a lower mid-table side and turned them into a legitimate playoff contender. I don't think you can take that away from him. He deserves a lot of credit for that, but I just think there are managers who have done better than him this season. I will agree, Marty Cifuentes has done a better job than Liam Mazzini this season. Danny Rawle as well. Even if he doesn't keep Sheffield Wednesday up, the fact that they've got a shout at this stage in the season, considering where they were when he took over, is quite the turnaround from him there. You know, both have drastically improved their clubs compared to when they came in. But for me, the one who's been criminally overlooked here is Carlos Corberán, because he's taken a West Brom side who are weaker than they were last season, no backing whatsoever, so much uncertainty behind the scenes, and made them into a nailed-on playoff side. And look, he hasn't had much fanfare in doing that, but I don't think anyone expected West Brom to be in the playoffs, maybe even knocking on the door of the playoffs, but they've been there pretty much since Christmas time, haven't they, and not really looked like shifting. So for me, the job he's done this season is in the top two. I'd definitely put it ahead of Daniel Farke, obviously Liam Mazzini, and if it wasn't for Kieran McKenna, he'd win Manager of the Season for me. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I think Carlos Corberán has been overlooked, and again, you've got to look at the circumstances he's been dealt with at West Brom as a big indicator. And I mean, he's got a good squad. It's a well-financed squad. I say well-financed by loans, but nonetheless, it is a well-paid squad with a lot of talented individuals, experienced individuals. But actually, again, being able to deliver a top six finish, bearing in mind that Steve Bruce couldn't do it, Byron Ishmael couldn't do it. You know, managers have come before him and failed with better squads. I think it's remarkable, and I think if West Brom's off the field situation was in a better place, I might argue that he would have West Brom probably batting a lot closer to the automatics.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised if he did it next season. If West Brom if West Brom don't get promoted this season, I think they're definitely a team to fear next season, aren't they? Just because they have Carlos Corberán at the helm, who has once again proved himself to be a top manager at Championship level. Who's done a better job this season, Carlos Corberán or Kieran McKenna, Justin?
McKenna.
Good. For a moment there. Let's move on, Justin. It's the preview show, isn't it? We're meant to be making our predictions. Let's go on to my banker of the weekend, shall we, Justin? My banker is Leicester City to beat Birmingham City. The Robbie Savage derby. Look, Leicester got back to winning ways against Norwich on Easter Monday, and I was impressed. The first 20 minutes was a bit nervy, but from that point on, it was like watching the Leicester of old. It looked like the nerves completely disappeared after they conceded. Not sure why or how it happened, but it was like watching a completely different team. Their big players like Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, look back on it, Steffi Mavididi as well. Plenty of players really could get a shout for the performance that they did on Monday, and it was exactly the kind of performance Leicester needed for the run-in. And considering they're at home against the side who are 20th in the league, they should be expecting to make it 2 wins in 2. I will admit, I'm slightly fearful of a Gary Rowett shithousing though, because Birmingham got their first win in 8 against Preston on Easter Monday. They played really well, and out of all the teams in the bottom 7, Birmingham probably the side I would least want to play right now. Ultimately, though, Leicester are a much stronger side, and if they're going to get promoted, they should be winning this relatively comfortably. Hence why I'm going for a Leicester win this weekend. What do you think, Justin? Or are you fearful of Rowett Ball?
I'm sat nervously. I'm sat on pins here. I'm uncomfortable because it's that row at shithouse masterclass that really does scare me a little bit with this one. And as I say, I think if any manager in the league's going to make Birmingham peak in April, like they usually do, it's going to be Gary Rowett. The man knows how to set up a team tactically, and I think he knows exactly how Enzo Maresca's going to set his side up, his Leicester side, and he's going to play into those weaknesses. And there are a lot of weaknesses. You can counter this team, you can let them play in front of you and run out of ideas. You just need to make sure that you're sharper on that transition, their fast transitions that they can do. So, yeah, I sit nervously on this one. I'm expecting a Gary Rowett shithouse masterclass, as we said. It's going to be a lecture from the professor of it in the Championship, I think.
Lecture from the professor of shithousery. I do have a bit of trepidation on that front, but if Leicester play like they did on Monday, then this should be a comfortable one for them. Emphasis on the word should. Can't really say that with much confidence with Leicester City at the moment. But Leicester's loss on Good Friday saw them drift to 21-10 to win the title with SBK, which is the longest they've been since the 20th of September. And it became the first time all season that a side other than Leicester were the favourites to win the title, with Leeds overtaking them at the time. Monday's win put Leicester back to 11-10 to win the title. So very tight at the top, and it just seems to be changing all the time, the odds. And the reason why Leicester are the favourites to win the league is because they have to get promoted, don't they, Justin? It's as simple as that. We were given a stark reminder of that this week when their accounts were released for last season in the Premier League. They announced losses of £90 million. Now, you might be thinking, OK, that's bad, but these are football clubs. They regularly lose money. Well, these accounts include the sales of Wesley Fofana and James Maddison for £70 million and £40 million, respectively. They also had the highest wage bill in the Premier League outside of the top six. Whew, eye-watering figures, Justin. And this is why if they don't go up, they're going to be feeling the pinch over the coming months, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the noise you made perfectly sums that up. If you want to make it again, just for me, just so I can get straight into it.
Woo!
Exactly
Ric
that.
Flair-ish.
Honestly, I know. We do talk about accounts, and we're not financial experts, but the amount of losses there that have been accrued by a club in the Championship, we've got to bear in mind this is a club in the this is a Championship club right now. It is frightening, and the price of not going up is even more significant. You only have to look at West Brom and how much it's cost them not going up in terms of. I mean, the owner stopped putting money into the club. They relied on loans. Not saying that will be the case with Leicester, but it can have a serious effect. And unfortunately, you will find yourself in a situation where you might need another fire sale, because not only will you not get as much money next season in terms of parachute payments, but you're going to have a similar wage bill to the one you've got this season, and therefore you're going to need to finance that. The only way you're going to be able to do that is through player sales. So. Yeah, it is a messy situation. And to make the link back to Birmingham, they make Birmingham, under Birmingham Sport Holdings, the previous owners of Birmingham City, look efficient in running their football club financially.
Yeah, it is scary. You've got to say it is. The thing is, this is their accounts in the Premier League with TV money. Imagine what the accounts will look like in a year's time after a Championship season. It's really, really scary. And, I mean, this is how the worst case scenario is looking for Leicester right now. They get a points deduction for breaking financial rules. I mean, that one looks like it's happening whether they get promoted or not. The transfer embargo they currently have is upheld over the summer, so they can't sign any players. That embargo also means they can't renew the contracts of players. So that will mean the likes of Jamie Vardy, Iheanacho, Ndidi, Vestergaard, they'll all go. And they'll probably have to sell the likes of Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, Wout Faes, etc. as well. So that's the worst case scenario. But the scary thing is, it's also quite a likely scenario as things stand, should they not get promoted. If it doesn't happen, they are in a right mess. And it could set the club back for years. I mean, I've seen some people even mention the possibility of them getting relegated next season. It's obviously ridiculous to say that while this season is still ongoing, but I wouldn't rule it out. And that's why they simply have to get promoted, because the stakes have never been as high as this for a club at this stage of a season. It really could be a kind of butterfly effect scenario with Leicester City. So yeah, Leicester to beat Birmingham this weekend. That's my banker for the weekend. So there are mine and Justin's 2 bankers, and each week we combine these 2 selections with a bet on the full-time result of our game of the weekend to create our very own second tier feature multiple with SBK. So this week we're going for Leicester, QPR and Ipswich all to win. A £10 bet on that returns £60 with SBK. You can create your own multiple with 3 or more bets on the full-time results of any game from across the Championship. T's and C's apply, over 18s only, and please do gamble responsibly. That again, Leicester, QPR and Ipswich all to win. £10 bet on that returns £60. Right, a bit later than scheduled, but let's have a quick break, Justin. After that, we'll talk about our outsider picks for the weekend and then finish off with a game of Scott High or Ryan Lowe. Welcome back to the Second Tier Podcast, everybody. And just before we reveal our outsiders for the weekend, Justin, Neil Warnock says he's retired. Is this Groundhog Day or something? Speaking to TalkSport, he said his career's all done and dusted and he's looking forward to going round some of the Scottish islands, which sounds nice. However, he also said he would have taken the Plymouth job if he was offered it after they sacked Ian Foster. Speaking to the BBC, he said, I would have done it if they'd asked me, but they haven't gone that way. I love the club, so I just want them to do well, and I'll be going to some of the games and hoping they can get the results. Justin, Plymouth could have pressed the button. They should have pressed the button. Why didn't they press the button?
It feels like I watched Neil Duneship's press conference, and it felt like there was a little bit of needle there with Neil Warnock. What he was saying was quite dismissive of the Neil Warnock factor, in fact. So maybe, yeah, exactly. It's blasphemy. That's what it is. It's blasphemy. But you are right. Maybe they should have pressed the button because they've taken an almighty risk, old Plymouth. But what struck me there is he's taken a tour around the Scottish Isles. He's just come from Aberdeen.
Yeah.
He's basically he could have just stayed up there and done that in the week.
He's got training to do, mate.
Neil Warnock doesn't do training.
That's a libelous accusation. He's retired now, isn't he? So he just wants to make the most of it and explore some of the Scottish islands, you know.
He's not retired. There'll be a job that comes up next season that he gets linked with, that he goes on TalkSport to talk about, and there'll be something there for him.
Oh,
there
yeah.
will be.
Yeah, he says he's retired, but we've heard this so many times before that you can almost guarantee he'll be back again at some point next season in March time, possibly at Stoke or something like that. Speaking of which, Justin, what's your outsider for the weekend?
It's West Brom to win away at Stoke.
Oh, coincidental.
Absolutely. I'm playing the game here. I was shocked to find that West Brom's odds were pitted against West Brom here, despite assuming the Baggies would be overwhelming favourites. So, yeah, really, really surprised. But as I say, I'm playing the game. I need the points. If I'm going to get close to you and get rid of my trip to Plymouth and back, to Plymouth and Sunderland to back, so I've got to go West Brom. And obviously, we're talking about Carlos Corberán being one of the best coaches in the division, doing one of the best jobs, and obviously should have been at least considered for Manager of the Year in the Championship. It's hard to discount them winning away at Stoke. And I mean, look, Stoke look a little bit rejuvenated. I say a little bit rejuvenated. Rejuvenated is a big word, but compared to their form of previous weeks, rejuvenation probably fits quite rightly. But you'd still expect West Brom to have more quality and the tactical edge over this Stoke side. West Brom are also unbeaten in the last 6 away games, so my only fear here would be a draw. But as I say, West Brom don't concede goals. Stoke don't score many. If you know Stoke are going to get in this game, it's probably going to be from a spectacular Lewis Baker free kick or something. But for me, West Brom winning away to Stoke's got to be the one.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying at the start of your explanation there, Justin, I did the same as you. I saw you select West Brom to win away at Stoke, and I was like, well, they can't be the outsiders for this one, but they are, which I found quite surprising. So fair play to you, dear boy. I think the only thing I would say is West Brom, they tend to do most of their business at home, don't they? They're definitely a much better home side than they are an away side. So that may be a bit of a concern for you, Justin, but I do agree, West Brom, they're a substantially better side than Stoke, and I wouldn't go as far to say rejuvenated. They've been better recently, have Stoke. But if West Brom are going to get into the playoffs, then they should be looking at this as a game where they should be winning, shouldn't they?
Well, exactly. And again, if you're wanting to put a marker out there, then you've got to be keeping clean sheets and winning games. And I think if there is a team that is going to do that against a Stoke side who they're shot shy and they don't convert many chances either, then this has got to be a game that West Brom come away with a fairly convincing one. You think a few weeks back they went away to Plymouth and convincingly beat them 3-0. It was a great game, and I think if West Brom find that spark again, it'll be a similar outcome. But look, as you say, Stoke have picked up a little bit, so it'll be a tougher game than maybe what we expect. But for me, yeah, this West Brom team's got a lot more quality and a lot more experience than Carlos Corberán, so got to go with them.
Absolutely. Just in my outsider for the weekend is Millwall to win away at Huddersfield. Now, this is a massive game in the relegation battle. You've got Huddersfield, who are one of the prime candidates right now to go down, and Millwall, who are still right amongst the big old relegation battle. These two are massively struggling for the results. So Huddersfield are without a win in 6. Millwall have 1 win in 5. So it's a big relegation 6-pointer, because whoever loses here will be in a massive pickle. However, I'm going with a Millwall win. And that is in large part down to Huddersfield, because they have been so alarmingly poor recently. The last time out, they drew against Stoke, who are by no means a great side, as we were just alluding to. And then before that, they lost 3-1 to Coventry, but that really could have been about 5-0. Hence, Huddersfield were just so poor, and they were lucky that they had Lee Nichols in good form that day. Otherwise, it could have been a lot worse. But it's really not going well at all under Ardre Brighton-Writer. And time appears to be running out for them in terms of their fight to stay up. And look, Millwall aren't doing great either. I've been very sceptical about them and their long-term prospects with Neil Harris as manager, but they've got a much stronger squad than Huddersfield. It really shouldn't be in the position that it is in. And I'm thinking that the quality they have will be enough for them on the day. So that's why I'm going for a Millwall win away at Huddersfield. What do you reckon, Justin?
It's hard, because obviously them losing to Rotherham in their previous game, Millwall that is, it just make you raise your eyebrows a little bit. But at the same time, again, if Millwall lose and Huddersfield win this one, it drags Millwall right back into it. When at one point you were expecting them to really pull away, but it'd be one of those games where I think you'd see Millwall really shut up shop, make it horrible for Huddersfield, like they have been trying to do under Neil Harris. Like all they'll ever do under Neil Harris is exactly that. So yeah, it's hard to see Huddersfield getting around that. I think I mentioned in the previous episode they had 9 offsides in the previous game. All the offsides were from Huddersfield, so it really is. It's hard to find good examples of good attacking play from Huddersfield to break down what is a very, very difficult, stubborn Millwall side. So on that basis, yeah, I would swing towards at least Huddersfield not winning this game and Millwall picking something up.
Yeah, even though Millwall have been having a very disappointing season, you're right, they do have a pretty decent defensive record for, where they are in the table anyway. And Huddersfield are a bit timid in front of goal, aren't they? They're sorely
clueless, looking
for someone to be firing the goals in. Bojan Radulovic, their striker, really signed for a fair bit of money in January. He got a well-taken goal against Stoke on Easter Monday, but they'll need more than just him finding his shooting boots. I can tell you that much for sure. Justin, guess what?
What?
It's time for this.
Scott High or Ryan Lowe?
Your little best is fucking shit, mate.
Yes, it's time for Scott High or Ryan Low, and this is the game where we have to rank 4 things from highest to lowest. It's as simple as that, really. There's 3 questions, and this week Justin is providing the questions to me. So what have you got for me, Justin Peach, you bastard?
I've got a good selection of questions here, Ryan, you nice person. With the East Anglian derby coming up this weekend, I want to know who's earned the most yellow cards out of these Norwich and Ipswich players.
Oh, God, okay. What, this season?
This season, correct.
Okay, cool. Good.
The players in question are Connor Chaplin, Harry Clark, Gabriel Sara and Shane Duffy.
Okay. Fine. Well, I'll stick Shane Duffy at the top because he's a clumsy defender.
It looks like he knocks things out of a cupboard, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And then it hits him on the head and he just laughs.
That's so rude.
So Shane Duffy top. Who are the players? Harry Clark, Connor Chaplin, Gabriel Sara. Fine. Well, I'll put I was going to put Connor Chaplin second, just because I think he's played pretty much near enough every minute for Ipswich this season, whereas Harry Clarke hasn't. Gabriel Sara's played pretty much every game for Norwich, but I don't really think of him as much of a, yellow card magnet. So I'll go Duffy, Chaplin, Clarke, Sara.
Wow, you've nailed that.
Have I actually?
You have actually nailed that.
Wow, fantastic news. What a great start.
Shane Duffy's top with 9, and it's Connor Chaplin with 7. Maybe it's the quantity of games with Chaplin and some gamesmanship playing its role in that. Harry Clarke is 6. I'm surprised he's lower because the amount of reckless tackles I see from him.
Yeah,
I am surprised he's
heart
a
on
bit
his sleeve
lower.
kind of player, isn't he? But he doesn't. Well, I was going to say he doesn't start as many games as you might think. I suppose does he?
No, but he does bleed Castrol oil because he's a tractor boy through and through.
Yep.
So that played into it, and then Gab Sara's bottom with 5. So yeah, well done.
Thank you, Justin. What's the next question?
It's another reference to the news this week in honour of Neil Warnock's shortest reign as manager at Aberdeen, 33 days to be exact, basically a holiday like he's been longing for around the Scottish Isles. I want you to rank in order these reigns based on the amount of days in charge he's had at the clubs.
Okay.
So the clubs are Middlesbrough, QPR, his first spell, Crystal Palace, his first spell, and Cardiff City.
Okay, well, he was at Middlesbrough for just under a year and a half, I think. Cardiff, that was longer than a year, wasn't it? Say 2 to 3 years. So I'll put Cardiff above Middlesbrough in length.
Great.
Where
are you putting them?
What do you mean?
I'm
going through it, mate. I'm just talking you through my thinking. Chill out, all right?
Fantastic.
Chill your beans. Okay. I can't really remember how long he was at Palace for, I've got to say. So on the basis that I vaguely think it may have been... I'll put QPR top, then Cardiff, then Palace, then Middlesbrough.
Okay. So QPR top,
In
then
terms of
Cardiff,
length, yes.
then Palace, then Middlesbrough.
Yeah, QPR being the longest.
That was shit. That was terrible. That was so disappointing. You took so long doing it, and it turned out to be a huge disappointment. You did get Middlesbrough right. That's his shortest spell in terms of days out of these 4 clubs, 494 days to be exact. Then it's QPR, 678 days.
Okay.
Then it's Crystal Palace at 871. And it was at Cardiff for an incredible 1,173 days.
Yeah, I thought it was a while. I just couldn't remember for the life of me how long it was at Palace and QPR for. But disappointing. But we moved, Justin. What's the final question?
Everyone's booking their holidays now, aren't they? You start to have a shop around. You book a trip abroad. Is that right?
I've already got my holidays booked, mate.
You've already booked
in June.
Japan in June. Oh, I hope that's nice for you. But anyway, it's not going to be nice because I want you to rank in terms of these trips. What are the most popular summer holiday trips abroad, according to TripAdvisor?
Right.
The destinations are Dubai, Amsterdam, Rome, and Benidorm.
What's this based on?
This is based on most popular. Well, the amount of trips. I'm trying to word.
So, how many people go?
How many people are going there? Yeah, it's
right.
done by TripAdvisor, a reputable brand.
Okay. So Amsterdam, Benidorm,
Dubai, and Rome.
I don't get Dubai. I don't get why so many people go there. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. To be honest,
it doesn't appeal to me either. It's basically London with sand.
Yeah.
And I don't like London.
If Visit Dubai want to sponsor us, then I will change my opinion on that.
Send us there. We might change our minds.
Maybe. I'll put Dubai bottom. It's furthest away, isn't it? So, surely. I've been to Benidorm. Benidorm is interesting. Not as many English people there as you think, actually.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, people always assume Benidorm's basically Brits abroad. It's like a state out. It's like a British state outside of Britain, if you see what I mean. So I'll put Amsterdam top.
Yep.
then Rome, then
Yeah.
Benidorm, then Dubai.
So you're going Amsterdam, Rome, Benidorm, Dubai.
I'm half thinking whether I need to swap Rome or Amsterdam around.
Are you going
But
to do
no.
it? You're not going to do it.
Mm,
Why would you swap
Okay,
Rome
actually,
around?
I will.
Okay.
I'll go Rome top, then Amsterdam, and then the other two.
Incorrect. Balls did it massively. It was wrong either or.
Okay.
Rome's bottom. No one wants to go to Rome. Only you
Rome's
like
lovely.
Rome. Only you like Rome. Rome's bottom. Then it's Dubai. I think people have a similar outlook to ours on Dubai. Amsterdam is a brilliant city. Don't stereotype Amsterdam. It's a beautiful city. That is
say
second. I'm not having a go. I'm just saying. But it's second only to the tropic Costa del Sol side of Benidorm. Benidorm is top. No, I haven't.
Would you like to go?
No.
Why not?
I have no interest in going to Benidorm whatsoever. Culturally, it's not my thing.
That I can get. It's an experience, put it that way. I'll tell you a story after we finish recording, which I definitely cannot tell on air. But all I'm saying is it involves Star Wars characters, ironically for you, and they're not very
Fantastic.
clothed.
Fantastic.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's been Scott High, Ryan Lowe. And this has been the preview show brought to you by SBK. I'm sure they'll be delighted by that anecdote just near the end there. And we will be back again on Sunday to talk about all the games coming up this weekend in the Championship. And what a weekend of action we've got ahead. I'm bloody looking forward to it. And we can divulge through it all on Sunday with you, ladies and gentlemen. So we bloody look forward to seeing you then. But this has been the Second Tier Preview Show brought to you by SBK. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.